Real brands have, they have unique stories. They build followings. They leave an impact and an imprint on people.
The same for the PPC and all other campaigns. It's like the same. You start to invest, and if you do the right thing, you will get the snowball effect.
We went from getting one of the partnerships I set up. We went from getting about 5 leads a week to about 20 to 25 a day.
Welcome to Dr. Amazon Podcast, the emergency support channel for FBA private label sellers. We invite top Amazon experts to share the most efficient tips and tricks for your businesses. My name is Vitaly Hizhniak and I am the CGO of Profit Whales. And let's get started.
It's always a pleasure to chat with the successful Amazon seller, especially those who use their experience to help others. Our today's guest is $1 million seller Paul Barron. But today we will speak not about that. Our main topic is brand building and influence marketing, because Paul is a well-known expert in this sphere and digital marketing. So are you ready? Let's start. Welcome back to another episode of the Dr. Amazon podcast. I am excited to introduce today's special guest. It is Paul Barron, founder and CEO of Chat Marketing University. He is an international keynote speaker and a great consultant on chatbots and influencer marketing. Paul, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Vitaly.
Yeah, of course, there is a pleasure for us. And we have a great topic to discuss. But first of all, I would be glad to start with your personal story of success. We know that you have started working in the sphere of the digital marketing around 2008, right? How did you start that?
So I actually started a web development company with one of my best friends, and we called it Barking Pineapple. And I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't even know how web pages were designed or built or anything. I just knew that I was kind of good at I was kind of good at design, and I figured, why not build websites for people? And that was a big learning curve. I mean, when we first got started, we were charging people $100 per page for their website, which was absolutely absurd. I got hired on at a web development firm in 2010 here in town. I was actually employee number 12 and set up some pretty key partnerships that helped that company grow from that 12 employees to about 100 in the first year. And we went from getting one of the partnerships I set up, we went from getting about 5 leads a week to about 20 to 25 a day. And in that position, I was moved to be the director of channel sales. And so my role was working with business owners and helping them kind of get noticed and get found online. And so I had to really learn and educate myself a ton on SEO, conversion optimization, everything when it comes to digital marketing. I had to learn about it. So that was my start. 2012, I ended up actually getting fired from that position. Long story there, but fast forward 2 years. And I started another web development firm in 2014. I say that very lightly. Again, it was with the same friend who we had started Barking Pineapple, that when we didn't know what the hell we were doing. This time we did know what we were doing, and we had a client base to start with. And that was going decently well. And then the next year I had learned about the opportunity of manufacturing in China and developing my own products. And so I started... we launched our brand in 2015, and the year after that, I ended up shutting down. It was Catalyst Media Group was the name of the company, and ended up phasing out of that about a year later and just focusing specifically on, Amazon and, building our brand and, e-commerce and all that stuff. So
I guess this story and this experience help you to start the Amazon business correctly. I mean that you do have an experience with the SEO, the main understanding, the web development, as for designs, maybe of your photos. Is it something is this experience help you to do maybe some important steps on Amazon?
Massively. I mean, the thing is that I had business experience in the past. None of it, the Catalyst Media Group, when we started that in 2014, it could have been successful had I really pushed it through. But the problem there was we had cash flow issues. I was doing it, full time for myself and my best friend. and, hiring contractors when we could. And so we just really didn't have a lot of money. And we were working in a lot of the local market, with his, small businesses that just don't really have much money, for ad spend. You're talking to local business owners, and, they struggle to pay you $300 a month in ads, or something along those lines. But yeah, it was massively helpful because I understood how hard it was to start a business. I mean, or at least I thought I did. I mean, there's always things that come up that are make you smack your head or smack your face, like Amazon. Recently we sent in a replenishment shipment, and they put labels on them. We don't ever have them label anything, but for some reason they put the wrong labels on. And so now we're having to recall 3,000 pieces of inventory because they screwed up. And that's, 20, 25 cents a piece. So there's always something. And that's the thing that I think that when you go into business and you look at selling online and specifically using Amazon, a lot of the time the lifestyle that people see are from these really successful sellers that have been doing it for years, right?
Yes.
And they don't understand that it's a real challenge. And fortunately, I have a background in marketing. I have a background in digital marketing specifically, I have a background in helping other brands grow and scale. And so that really helped. That really helped me a ton.
According to the Amazon experience, right now a lot of people speak about the building a brand on Amazon, and now everyone talks about that in different groups and podcasts. But does everyone need to build a brand? Because I guess when you have started from selling products only. That was the main idea. But is now the building a brand is some kind of a trend and main pattern that you should do on Amazon for survive?
Yeah, I mean, you have to. And, from the get-go, we had always been of the opinion that we were building a brand. And the way that I viewed Amazon at the start is the same way that I view it now. It's just that it's one of many channels that we can sell into. And so I think that's one of the key differences between me and a lot of the other people that, started when I did back in 2015. You could go not really build a brand back then and just sell products. And, there's a market for that. But I feel like that's coming to a close because of, if you look at how everything that Amazon's giving to brands, and, and I'm not just talking about brand registry brands, that's one thing, that's one part of it. Just because you have a brand registered does not mean that you have a brand. Right. Real brands have, they have unique stories. They build followings. They leave an impact and an imprint on people, wherever they are. And so that's always my focus, is making sure that we build a real brand. And I had heard something the other day that it takes on average about 6 to 7 years to establish a brand in America. I don't know if that's necessarily true. And again, it's a statistic. I can't tell you, where that's from or if it's true, but I mean, I'm saying
it's a lot of time. It's a lot of things that you should be done and do it everywhere. In the case of the marketing, in the case of your product, what you do with your packaging, all these things. And it's the strategy to build a brand is one of the goals that you like to achieve.
Right. And that's where, you got to, I have to apologize.
No worries.
I didn't mean that. I thought I had notifications turned off. My cousin was trying to call me. But yeah, when it comes to brand building, I think you look at things differently. You look at investments differently, rather than being so obsessed with putting in a dollar and watching your ROI on Amazon. Brand building is a lot longer term game. You start investing in stuff so that 3 or 4 years down the road, you can start seeing that return. And this is a lot of what we're seeing now. I mean, it helps you have marketplace dominance, because when you become the number one brand that everybody talks about in your niche, you can charge more for your products. I mean, we charge twice the cost for our products that our competition does, and we maintain the bestseller badge. That puts a little bit of a target on our back for black hat people, but it is what it is. So in my estimation, the rewards for building a brand far outweigh the investment costs to do so.
So one of the strategies to build a brand is start working with the influencers, right? To use these like power of the influence marketing. Yeah. But how to understand that that is a right time to do that?
Yeah, and that's a little bit like the chicken or the egg scenario, that question, what came first, the chicken or the egg, because
Yeah.
influencers really aren't going to work with you if you don't have any social proof, to be completely honest. I mean, there will be influencers that you can go to and like Thomason or IntelliFluence or something. They'll take your money and give you some photos. But what I mean by actually working with influencers, I mean like a long-term partnership with people that want to, share your products and your photos. You know, doing that and doing that right, you've got to have some meat to your brand. You've got to have a real reason other than just you have a cool product. You can't be the 25th best thing and the only difference, whatever, your avocado slicer is blue and everything else is green. Like, that's not a competitive advantage, right? Like, you've got to have something unique about it. Now, maybe you could have an avocado slicer where, you donate a portion of all your money to like water.org or something, because avocado farmers in Mexico actually use a ton of water, and there's actually water crises because of avocado trees. So that could be one way that you could stand out, is just having a better story. And that's I've used this example before, and recently a couple podcasts like talk about like coffee, for example, Black Rifle Coffee Company, which in America, we have the Second Amendment, which is basically reads that, the right for a well-armed or I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but basically in order to have a militia to be able to defend against yourself, you have the rights to the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed upon by the government. So that idea to keep and bear arms, AKA guns, there's a lot of people in America that's a real big deal to them. And so they're gun people. That's their hobby. They go shooting and stuff on the weekends. Now, this is unique to America. A lot of other countries are like, you guys are weirdos. But that's the thing, is that Black Rifle Coffee Company sells into that niche and their coffee, but their whole thing is like Second Amendment and guns. So they built a name for themselves because they've got a better story. They've got they built a better community is what I'm saying. And so you could do that. It just takes time. So working with influencers is absolutely incredible. And it's one of the best things that we've ever done to grow our brand. The thing going into it, again, for most people, is that you need to understand that it's not a short-term thing. And if you're looking for immediate direct ROI, you're not going to see it. I mean, realistically, there are some campaigns with influencers you can do, but most of the time, if you're looking at it as a marketing activity, the investment, generally speaking, you're not going to see that for, years to come. I know that working with influencers, we have on average about a 5.2 ROI. So every dollar spent, we get $5.20 back. But that's just after years and years and years of doing this.
I like the idea that the influencers is also the brand building strategy for you. And it's not a short term that you could see the impact of it in a few weeks or months. Yeah, you will need to spend time and track. But according to that, how to track this influencer impact? Yeah, how could we feel that strategy start working for us?
Well, there's several ways. If you're doing, for example, if you're working with influencers during a launch, one of the things that we'll do is we'll give each one of our influencers a unique coupon code that we can track redemptions of that coupon code. That's one way. Another way that you can track is just overall like branded search terms or branded searches for your name, and whatever variation of your name or your products. Like, that's one way that you can track as well. So you can see that, we have a couple. I would have to look at all of it because we have several ways that people find us by our brand name. But last time I looked at Helium 10, I think it was a couple hundred, if not close to the 1,000 mark. I'm not sure. But we look at that, and then we also look at things like we have, like, in 2019 we had Michael Phelps, the Olympic swimmer. His agent email us because he had seen us. So we know that the brand work that we're doing is getting somewhere because he's the number one swimmer in the world. We sell reusable swim diapers. and he has kids that are just starting to swim. And so he wanted to partner with us, like he had
Mm-hmm.
said specifically. So we know that it's working. Like we get retailers calling us back. But again, this is after 4 years of doing this.
Yeah.
You know, year one, all we really had to show for it was, you know, several hundred photos that our brand reps took and posted about us. Year two, we started getting into more best of blogs, but it's like you're in the Ukraine, so you know snowballs, right? If you
Yes.
you build a snowman, it starts out, you got to have that really hard center, but then you roll it and you roll it. As you know, if you
More
roll
and
that
more
ball,
and more. Yeah.
exactly, it'll pick up speed, but it starts small.
It's
And
like the
that's one of those-
flywheel that we have on Amazon, like the same for the PPC and all other campaigns. It's like the same. You start to invest, and if you do the right thing, you will get the snowball effect. Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's really where we're looking at I guess the efficacy of this is off Amazon stuff. Like what's the buzz off Amazon? You know, like how many best of lists are we in? And, you know, which lists are naming us number one? Like parents.com just named us number one again for the third year in a row. And so having that be said about a 6-year-old brand is huge, you know, especially when we're coming up against nationally entrenched, and not just national, but international brands that have been around for 20, 30, 40, 50, like, I don't even know how long Huggies has been around, but they've been around for a long time and they have billions of dollars behind them and we're beating them. And so I know that like the work that we're doing is paying off.
A lot of people think that if they will invest right now more, like in a first year, they will, for example, get a big celebrities around his brand and start to promote it. They will get all these results shortly. Or another strategy that we could use, like to get more like micro influencers, this like with a little amount of the followers, and they will like try to tell and spread this information around the brand and to get all the sales and the impact that you could get. Yeah, what do you think about that? What strategy could be correct in the beginning?
It depends on how much money you have, really. I mean, they're not saying that one is right and one is wrong. It just one takes a lot more money. I mean, if you go with a celebrity, for example, you're going to have to pay a big upfront fee. You know, you can see what you can negotiate in terms of like long-term royalty, like type commissions and things. But there's no way around the upfront fee. We did partner with a couple celebrities where it was just a percentage. We were donating 100% of the proceeds of the product that we were selling to their charity. So that was a little bit unique. And those types of partnerships aren't as they're a lot more fewer and far between, because when you start working with celebrities, then you're going to start working with either their agent or their manager, at least one. And generally speaking, you'll also work with their lawyer. So when you start going like that, then you have all these people that need to get paid, right? So the agent's not really going to want to work with you if they're not going to get paid. So they may inadvertently, well, not necessarily inadvertently, but if they're the ones talking to you and they know they're not going to make any money, it's not really worth their time to talk to you. Even if the celebrity would want to work with you, until you can get to talk to them, you're going to have to sell the agent or the manager before you can even get to talk to the celebrity. So I really focus on working with nano influencers and micro influencers. And the reason for that is that it is by far the most cost effective. And especially with nano influencers, oftentimes you can work with nano influencers without having to pay them an upfront fee. Most of the time you can do this in just exchange for your products. And I mean, that's a system that we've developed, and, you know, we actually sell as a service now at the chat agency. So, you know, for anybody listening to this, you know, you can go check out thechatagency.com. And, you know, you can learn more about how we can do this for you, or you can just do it yourself. The thing doing it yourself, again, is you can do it. It just takes a lot of time to build those relationships up with people.
Gotcha. And according to, you have mentioned the chat agency, yeah? What is the right thing, how to find, all these influencers, how to understand that these influencers right now is good, and you should like follow them and try to find the right connection with them, and to build like this long-term partnership?
Well, there's aggregators, there's databases that you can go to that will find people. Generally speaking, when you go with any of those databases, so this is like I mentioned a few before, like IntelliFluence or Thomason. Thomason started out as a review group, essentially. So all those people that were reviewers just switched over to become influencers. And to be quite honest, like most of the time, their content's terrible. I would never use them. I would never pay $1 million. I would never, in a million years, use them. Generally speaking, IntelliFluence is about the same. It's a little bit higher quality, but not that good. There's another one called Perlu, Perlu, that you can go to. But here's the thing, like most of the time, all of those places are aggregating people that consider themselves to be influencers, right? Some of these people consider themselves to be influencers, and then I would not consider them influencers. They have like 300 or 400 followers and they want to charge you $200. Like, sorry, Karen, just because, you and your knitting group.
Like for what? Yeah.
Right. It's like, I'm not paying you. And what we generally do is we'll put ads together, and then we'll have a big promotion where we're pulling people into our group and we're explaining what our brand ambassador team is, the benefits of joining that team and what you get in exchange for joining. And we have a really, really great, community around our brand. And we consistently have women. We've worked with a lot of the same women for coming up on 4 years now, or actually 5 years. And they consistently tell us that we are their favorite brand to work with. It's hard to explain exactly everything that you could do, but you could put ads together, like advertising your brand ambassador team. You could search for people and reach out to them directly, which is what a lot of people do. Doing it that way can be a challenge because, your messages can come across as spam. There's a lot to it.
So that is great. You build you want not just to you work with the influencers not to sell the products or to promote the products. You work with them to build a story or history around your brand, to involve them in your story and to be a part of it.
Exactly. So that when we have promotions and when we have, new product launches or whatever, then they help us with those launches and those promotions because we have a long-term relationship and a partnership with them where they genuinely love using our products. They're nobody in our group is a brand ambassador or brand rep that doesn't love using our stuff first and foremost. That's the biggest difference between, I think, a lot of the times, building a group and nurturing that group over time versus just finding people to pay. Because you go to a group and you just say, hey, I need photos. They say, okay, that'll be $300. I mean, you don't even know if they know how to use your widget, right? Maybe they're holding your avocado slicer wrong. And so all the photos you're going to get are wrong, and you've just paid them $300 for those photos.
Yeah, that is cool. I like it because according to the big brands that we see around the world, they build a community around their history, around some story and event that they would like to implement in people's lives, in your lifestyle or something like that. And you could provide them with some impact from your side, and that is cool.
Right.
Yeah. I like it. So now, could you please provide us with the, for example, one main advice in this difficult road as the brand building for our audience? What it will be?
So the first thing that you need to do is you need to focus on your story, like the story of your brand, right? Because that's how humans connect with each other. That's the number one way that we've always connected throughout all of time is through storytelling. When you go and you have dinner with your family and your friends, you tell stories to each other. You don't really sit and talk about data and numbers and these sorts of things, right? So when you're talking about brand building, it comes back to that story. Why does this brand exist? How does what you're doing, how is it different? How can people connect with you emotionally? And in order to do that, you need to understand who you're selling to. So you need to understand your ideal customer demographic, your ideal customer persona. And so you need to make sure that you really get into their heads and understand, where they hang out, the language that they use, what makes them happy, what makes them sad, the things that they're afraid of, the things that they secretly hope for. And if you can really get into the heads of your customers, then you can communicate and connect with them. better, so that's why I always advocate for people to launch products in things that they themselves are personal users, that they themselves know, because there's no better experience than using your own product every day and saying like, man, I wish this was better. And then you can improve it. Or if you have a pain point, let's say that you're just, let's say you're in construction and there's something that you do every day in construction that is just a pain in the ass that takes you a long time, but you could change something and make it a little bit easier. If that's, then you could build a brand around it. And then you could talk about your brand story as well. I did this and I wanted to make my life easy and all that sort of stuff. That's a lot more endearing than saying, well, I was trying to make money and I was sick of my job. And so I took this course that I learned how to sell products online, and I found this whiteboard cleaner. And so that's why we're selling it. Like, nobody cares about that. Yeah. Right. So really figure out like who your customer is, where they hang out, what makes them happy, what makes them sad, and build your story around them, around helping them, about them being the hero, using your products. And that would be step one.
Great. I really like it. And I guess all these things will help you to find a right influencers, right audience around you, and to get like more and more sales. Right now, I would be glad to make a short quiz about yourself, to know more about you, because I know that you love fishing and a lot of things. But first of all, could you please answer some questions about, for example, your hobby? What is it?
My wife jokes that her hobby is keeping track of all of my hobbies. Let's see, I used to brew beer. I say used to because I haven't brewed in like 2 or 3 years. Kids make that a challenge. But I'm an outdoorsman. I love fishing. I love hunting. I love hiking and camping. I grew up in Colorado, and so the outdoors are really important to me. So, there's this big movement for eco-friendly things, and for me, everything that I love is outside. So eco-friendly is just the way that I live, because if you litter and stuff, then the woods aren't going to be there, and you don't take care of the land, it's not going to be something that my kids are going to enjoy. So
I'm looking forward to visiting the Colorado, according to that.
Oh, it's great. We got great mountains. It's good skiing in the winter and hiking in the summer. And last year, though, we had a lot of fires, which is a pain. But as long as that doesn't happen again this year, I heard a good proverb that, the earth is not given to us by our parents. It's lent to us by our children. Mm-hmm. And I think, like, for me, like, all the things that I love to do, being in nature and fishing and hiking and that sort of stuff are things that I want to do with my kids, and they enjoy that, and, going outside. So those are primarily my hobbies, outdoor
that
stuff.
Cool.
I mean, I play hockey as well. Actually, I have a hockey game tonight. I don't know when. Really late.
That is nice.
So play hockey. I used to brew beer. I still love brewing beer. Barbecuing, spending time with family. I don't know. I've got a lot of hobbies.
That is great. And according to that, do you have maybe some time for reading a books or podcast? If that, what book would you recommend to our audience?
The one that I really like right now is I really like Dan Ariely, the author. He has a book called Predictably Irrational, and it's a lot of there's a newer term, neuromarketing, and that's basically what it is. It's the psychology of what makes people tick. He is I think Dan Ariely is a behavioral economist. So he studies how people, what makes people tick and what makes people buy, and like the things that people do that are completely irrational, but they do all the time. Yeah. So that's a really, really good book. So I listen to podcasts all the time and audiobooks and, all the time. So yeah, I'm always listening to books.
That is great. And you spend a lot of time inside the Amazon. What do you think should be the next trend for the e-commerce or for the Amazon for 2021?
Well, it's good to hear that people are talking about brand building. For a long time, I felt like I was one of the only people out there shouting about it. Like, one of my pet peeves is saying, well, you're an Amazon business owner. Like, no, you're not an Amazon business owner. You own a business and you sell on Amazon, and Amazon owns Amazon. You don't own Amazon, unless you have shares or something, you might be a co-owner.
Only marketplace. Yeah.
Right. So here's the thing is that like you need to really, for people to succeed, they need to start thinking of themselves as business owners, and they need to start looking at what do normal businesses do to market and grow, right? Like selling on Amazon can be a little bit easier because oftentimes we don't have to worry about customer acquisition too much.
Mhm.
But I really believe that that's going to be a shift. I think that in the years going forward, we are going to have to worry more about building an audience because we're starting to see it's more of a pay to play model. PPC and sponsored products are becoming to dominate most of the search results. Like it's like every other result is a sponsored thing. And so much so that the FTC in America is ruling on whether or not that should be okay, which I don't think it should be okay. But whatever it is, it is what it is. So, I would say definitely focusing on brand, should be number one, looking at things like influencer marketing, like list building. How are you going to build your email list? How are you going to build your chatbot list? How are you going to build an SMS list? And then how do you nurture those people to like help grow your brand in the future?
Like it. And the last question for today, who should be the next episode, the next guest for the Dr. Amazon podcast?
Well, the next guest, I don't know. I really like Joe Rixfield. I don't know if I said his last name, but he and I have been talking a lot lately, and he talks a ton about real marketing, like building a brand, content marketing, building up SEO. I mean, Jose Alvarez is super smart. Tomer is super smart. Norm is super. I mean, I don't know. You have Norm Farrar or
choose anyone.
Jordan or Kevin. I don't know. It just depends on if they have time. But I'd get Joe on if you could.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. We will try to reach them and him especially. That is cool. Paul, thank you so much for sharing all this experience to us. Thank you for telling us like the story in the case of the influence marketing. I really like your idea how the people start focusing on brand building, and thank you for this impact.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that is all for today's Dr. Amazon episode. Do not miss our future arrivals with new hot topics. Press the like button, leave us a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe. We will come back to you shortly.